Uh, Good morning. So again, my name is Moon Sehat, and I'm the Research Community Lead for the Credibility Coalition. I'm just glad to be here this morning to share a little bit about who we are and what we've been working on lately. This is actually a homecoming for us. We emerged from the first MisinfoCon, which took place last year, February, at MIT Media Lab from a late night session. And since then, we've grown to start including a number of organizational and institutional partners. Thankfully, we're in a position right now where people have been giving us some funds to do the work that I'm going to describe right now. If you know us individually, though, you probably know us more like this. And also, if you came to the workshop yesterday, one of the things that you might know about us is that we really like stickies. But we also basically just want to highlight that interactive, interdisciplinary, and collaborative approach that we seek to foster. So what is the Credibility Coalition trying to do? We're trying to create frameworks that support that collaborative interdisciplinary approach to information quality. We want to enable rigorous research. We want to seek better standards for information quality. And we want to see that knowledge thoughtfully applied. So let me try and make this a little bit more concrete for you with a specific example. This is an article title from one of my sort of pet favorite articles over the last year. It was included in a study that we recently released in April 2018. And so just kind of reading it through, Johns Hopkins researcher releases shocking report on flu vaccines. On BuzzSumo in 2017, according to them, it reached 1.9 million shares. I checked earlier this year, it's about 2 million and counting. And the reason why I love this title so much is there's so many questions about it. So it's actually a question as to whether or not it was a Johns Hopkins researcher. He did do a fellowship there. There's a question about if it was like a report. It was not a sort of peer-reviewed report, but rather a piece in the news and views section of a journal, and then also whether or not it was all that shocking. I should mention he's also an anthropologist, and yes, for those who are familiar with vaccines, you know that they're not 100% effective. So this process that I went through right now and sort of just trying to think through this title alone, you might start thinking about what are the signals, what are the indicators of whether or not this article might be credible. You might ask a question about whether or not you think clickbait is an issue. Or maybe just let me kind of rest on that term shocking. Is there a signal there in terms of exaggerated or emotionally charged tone? I've also shared some excerpts from other articles that were part of the study that we released earlier this year. So this process that I'm describing here, with just the title alone, it would be great to be able to work with people that are health experts. It would also be great to work with people that are in rhetoric, I think, to try and understand that. How about people that understand signal detection or understand computer science and how you might extract that data? This problem that we're all very familiar with, we know that takes a really, it is a big problem. It's going to need a big solution, many solutions. And so one of the things that has been driving us is how can we support a collaborative approach to information disorder? So when I say frameworks, that we're interested in frameworks, this process that I just walked us through here, about thinking about what are the signals, what is the structure that you need in order to create that collaborative structure to kind of engage with. Excuse me. That is what we are interested in, the blue side. We have members of our coalition. We work with others that are interested in interpreting that data. So there may be scoring. There may be more algorithmic transparency, but that is not our main work. Our main work is to support that process. And so when we say at the Credibility Coalition, we are not about a score, that particular article, we will not say like, we're going to give it a ranking. Rather, the result is really our work, a structure, process, and data. The way to understand then the focus of our energies are three driving questions. And you guys actually are a guinea pig audience because there's a big question on our main site. And this is not the same question. We realized it was double-barreled, and then we kind of started working on it again. And so now we're proposing that we actually have three different vectors. One is that can we assess? Can people that are interested in rigorous research agree on indicators for reliable information online? Does it scale? Does assessment work at small and large magnitudes? It may be that they do work, but maybe they work in different ways. And finally, we're all doing this, right, with the goal of improving the internet, improving the information that's out there. So we need to think about that application problem right on. How can the implementation of credibility standards effectively inform people? So as I mentioned, frameworks, there's a number of different frameworks that the Credibility Coalition is seeking to build. I'm going to go over two today. The first is indicators and data. And to that extent, you've sort of heard me talk through this process of a couple. I'm just sharing with you 16 indicators that are available both at this link, hopefully that you can see, but also at the paper that I mentioned, which I'll also show that link as well. We have 16 indicators in that paper, but in fact we have dozens in the background that are under development. And this is in partnership with our sister initiative with the W3C, the co-chairs of whom are also here today, and I'll be giving them that shout out just at the end. But just to say that too, this is our first paper at credibilitycoalition.org/results. You can also look at it there and also download the data set. What I want to highlight is in this draft life cycle that we're trying to share more broadly is this process, this cyclical process, this structure of trying to figure out vocabularies and indicators that many people can think about, not only in terms of what might signal credibility, but also the cluster of them together, which ones work together to produce what results, as well as the data set that we use to generate sort of understanding. That is what we're trying to do in terms of an iterative process. We're working with people in our research community. We're working with journalism schools, with people that are domain experts. We're trying to do as much as possible to kind of gain a sort of multidisciplinary approach to the problem. The second framework that I wanted to share today too is something that we started working on a couple of months ago, MisinfoCon map. And if you were at our workshop yesterday, you sort of saw it. But as a specific project, how do you situate yourself then in this great field of emerging research or emerging efforts? And so one of the things that we thought about is there are a lot of lists that are growing. We think that those are great lists, and we don't want to duplicate that effort, but rather, how can we use the knowledge of what's these the numbers of lists that are out there, the growing numbers of initiatives, and figure out for ourselves how you situate yourselves within this space. And so what we're proposing is three different vectors of understanding. One is that there might be a project that's more focused on theory or understanding of the whole information disorder issue. But there's others that are actually seeking to actively shape the quality of information online right now, so fact-checking might be an example. Infrastructure, the actual medium of exchange versus the content, the information that's flowing through it, and dimensions of diversity. So this is a stylistic version of the map, but in fact that we have an Airtable in which we're collecting different projects and would like to see this data visualized. And hopefully that it can kind of show, though, this idea that we're saying, that as a project you might figure out where it is that you fit on this spectrum. Are you more about practice? Are you less about theory? Are you more about infrastructure or more about content? Who's in your same space? Who can you work with that are doing similar things and not duplicating the efforts? Are there ways that you can grow in terms of dimension? Knowing at the outset that your project is mostly about English, you should then be baking into your design understanding the limits of who you might reach out to in language or country or theme to kind of understand things better. So really, I'm so glad about this, but I think I just made it on time. That's really two of the examples. We have additional ones. I wanted to also give a brief little mention of a plug for workshops that we're doing today, which have to do with memes and images in partnership with Farida, if you can join us for that, or Nutrition Labels for News. And finally, again, to just kind of offer more support for these frameworks that I'm talking about, we have launched a small microgrant round, which you can contact me about. The applications are due by the end of the month. Thank you so much for your time. Look forward to your questions.